Well, we welcome you back here to the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine ahead of race 2, our final race of the weekend here at Barcelona before we tee up the runs heading into Hockenheim and Monza. The temperature in the air sitting calmly at 22 degrees ahead of the track temperature of 25 degrees, which is obviously a little bit warmer. By extension, the humidity has taken a slight decline as well. It's now 76% as opposed to the 90% we were experiencing first thing this morning. But hitting the heights of P1, Enzo Dellini will be starting on the front row and on pole position, returning once again for the third time this season ahead of Pedro Cliro, who will join him on the front row for Van Amersfoort Racing. Further back, Akshay Bora in third alongside Evan Giltaire with his best performance in a long, long time for ART. Michael Belov in fifth for CL Motorsports ahead of Matteo De Paulo, the championship leader, with Freddie Slater in seventh as well, also vying for the championship. Hugh Yamakoshi in eighth, Jin Nakamura in ninth ahead of Jack Beaton in P10. Rashid El Dahiri representing Mercedes and Prema in P11 ahead of Taito Kato in 12th. Further back, we have Kanato Lay in 13th ahead of Santiago Ramos on his return this weekend to RPM. Juan Puqui from Prema on his wild card. First starts here in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, lining up alongside Ruiki Liu for Trident. Edu Robinson in 17th as well ahead of Dion Gauda. Sakir Al-Maushari in 19th alongside Matteo Capietto, also returning for RPM, with Edouard Borgner in 21st, Nanovid Biran Bakhti in 22nd, ahead of Giovanni Maschio and Tim Gerhards, who line up in 23rd and 24th respectively. And it's Yaroslav Vasalo for Santalok, joined by teammate Nikita Bedrin, who had all his times deleted after it was ruled that he fielded a caster length that was not in compliance with the regulations in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. So therefore, we'll be starting from the back of the grid. So now as we look ahead to yet more racing action, 30 minutes plus the one lap to take us through it. And luckily enough for us, it looks like the weather that was, of course, due to be soaking the circuit during the entire day, it's been sort of on stop and start through frequent occasions, though we have had more dry running than not so far today throughout the entirety of the racing we've experienced here at Barcelona, but it doesn't mean to say that we might not see it again. The clouds are very grey overhead. You can just about see it at the top right of shot as you're seeing it on screen as we look ahead to the grid. Enzo Dellini, of course, after the mishap in yesterday's race over the first lap where he lost his front wing, obviously putting those demons to bed and managing to strike gold up at the very top during qualifying, taking pole position, and therefore will be sitting on the front row alongside Pedro Cliro, who was, I must say, a good value choice to potentially take the top spot. We're starting behind the safety car due to unequal grip conditions out on the grid, which is, you know, totally understandable. Certain areas of this track damper than others. Other portions are largely drier than others as well. So just to ensure that the drivers are well aware of what they're dealing with, we will be starting behind the safety car, as you can see from the front end of the rostrum. So it will not just be a standing start. We will, of course, be under the safety car for a small portion until it's agreed to go green. Once again, as the teams now and their crew leave the grid, and it's down to the drivers and the cars themselves. RHGP with a great chance here today of scoring some big points, obviously with Dellini on the front row for starters. That's always a good place to start. You also have Akshay Bora sat just behind him as well. Of course, Cliro's going to be doing his damnedest to try and bring Van Amersfoort their first win here at Barcelona since Pierre-Louis Chauvet back in 2020. But we'll need to take advantage on the run down through towards turn one, just like Matteo De Paulo did, in order to scoop up his fourth win of the season, planting him firmly to the top of the championship. But by 4 points, still enough time for Freddie Slater to rein that gap back in and retake that championship lead that he arrived with coming into the Barcelona round. But Hockenheim and Monza still to come. So plenty of chapters to digest before we drop the checkered flag at the end of this season. The Alpine safety car now carries on, so now the front runners will peel off, commencing the race under the safety car. And they'll line up in single file. No overtaking during this period. And because it's a wet track, they have asked the drivers to ensure that the lights are on the cars. So the entire grid will, of course, conform to it, and they'll make their way down through towards turn one as we settle them down into a single file line, and venturing through turns one and turns two. Of course, largely Prema have had the success here. I mentioned that in the qualifying show earlier on today. Of course, James Wharton taking 2 poles last year, converting those into 2 victories. Freddie Slater, who took pole, of course, last season, or this season, I should say, based on what we've seen from prior seasons, only the second Prema driver, or the second driver in the last 4 years, or the last 4 seasons, or indeed he could make that last 5 seasons, to not go from lights to flag with a victory. Of course, Andrea Kimi Antonelli didn't manage to do it either back in 2023 in race 1. Tim Tranwitz ended up being the winner, but Matteo Topalo gifting Trident their first win at Barcelona in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, and I have to say, as a team, they've been on the up with their efforts in FIA Formula 3, and now transferring the same effects here to Freca in itself. So now they climb the hill through towards a flying turn 9. And there's Rashid Al Dahiri as well, the Mercedes Junior. He'll be hoping for a big race himself. As they continue behind the safety car, and you'd imagine it'll go into the next lap here and now. But no rainfall currently on display just yet. Obviously, it looks like largely the sun is actually getting brighter. So fingers crossed we won't see the dark clouds emerging and droplets falling. It does look like it's relatively dry around Sector 3, but obviously some edge of caution being observed by the championship, and rightfully so, as they come through the final sector, as Enzo Dellini leads the way with Clero and Bora as well. Currently 2 R-Race GPs featuring inside the top 3. Of course, we look back at Enzo Dellini and Bora's fantastic efforts back at Imola, both taking race wins and featuring on the podium in both races in a blanket weekend for the R-Race GP team, making a big, or forming a big influence to them, taking the team's championship lead at the same time. So we now watch as the cars fly up through the first few corners again. And great to see Evan Gilter back inside the top 4 as well. Be looking for a podium. Hasn't had a podium since all the way back when he won at Misano in race 2 for ART. He is the highest of the ARTs inside the Drivers' Championship at the moment. Taito Kato just featuring behind Hiyu Yamakoshi right now. Currently sits 9th in the championship standings. As they now make their way through the right-hander of turn 4 and then down through towards turn 5. They can see Matteo Topalo, championship leader, in the distance. Of course, Freddie Slater joining him for company as well. Quite appropriate that we have the 2 top leading drivers in this series clubbed together in Ps 6 and 7. Of course, not sharing the same row of the grid, however. Slater just 1 row back, joining Hiyu Yamakoshi. Because Hiyu Yamakoshi had a difficult run in the opening race of the weekend, starting further back, and had to really work his way through the field. Could not quite pull off the same exploits as Jin Nakamura, who won our Pirelli Rising Car Award coming into the weekend after his 20 places gained during the Red Bull Ring race, race 1 that being. As they now come down through towards turn 10. The safety car coming in this lap, so we will get back to green action for the final 24 minutes or so, just under 25 minutes plus 1 lap as soon as they cross the stripe. Dellini will be the one to get them going again. He basically becomes the safety car here at this point. It's on his decision to pick up the pace, and he will certainly do so now as they come through turn 11, later turn 12, turn 13, then turn 14, and then down the straight as they round the final bend this time. Clero watching him through his visor. They're going to put pedal to the metal, and it's go! Go, 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 go. Great start for Dellini. Also a decent start for Clero. They all run single file all the way down through towards turn 1. They remain in formation as they charge through towards the first corner apex under green flag conditions. Freddie Slater now further back as well, looking to try and make a hard charge, trying to prevent the ongoing encroachment here as well. And also it looks like Rashid Al Dahiri's trying to garner here a move here on Jack Beaton, his own teammate, and it looks like Rashid Al Dahiri's going to try it around the outside, the Aussie. from the Gold Coast under pressure now as we watch them. Two Prema drivers under pressure, one of them from their own teammates here, Freddie Slater. Also, Matteo De Palo with them as well. Jin Nakamura manacled now with the number 6 of Hiyu Yamakoshi as they start to duel now, coming through out of turn 4. Still at the moment beaten, managing to keep Rashid El Dahiri behind, and Rashid El Dahiri now under pressure from Taito Kato as they head down into the left-hander now, this time coming out of turn 5 through down towards turn 6 and 7 as they now venture up through Verth Curve. There you can see Jin Nakamura floating uphill, still chasing after Hiyu Yamakoshi. Delaney still leads now, 0.4 of a second is the gap as they now cruise over the crest and head down through turns 9 and down the hill through towards turns 10 again this time around. And then you can see Clearo still locked in second place. Michael Belov getting a good start as well, qualified very smartly, of course, this time. Rashid El Dahiri once again under pressure from Taito Kato. El Dahiri trying to take the place back in front from Taito Kato, but he tries the up and under, and it's given him some respite here, Jack Beaton. But Taito Kato now once again side by side, but onto the gravel. My goodness me, or is that Kanato Lay? In fact, I do apologise, and that was Kanato Lay who was in the mixer on that. And as a whole, I think he's now found himself around Juan Pu Kui. So I do apologise, wrong ART. In fact, the other one was Taito Kato with Jack Beaton. As we see Evan Gilter coming down into the braking zone in turn 1, and here we are. There is the 45 of Jack Beaton meeting the 89 of Taito Kato now, and Taito Kato has brushed past Beaton for P10. There's Juan Pu Kui taking the escape road as well, heading up through turns 1, 2, and later turns 3. As they now fly through the first sector, and now we can just see a Prema running off very wide. Now, goodness me, who is that? I believe that is Juan Pu Kui again, and now Dion Garda moves through, so we'll take a look at this once more. Oh, that's something different. That's Giovanni Maschio. And a yellow flag is out at turn 11. Giovanni Maschio with a rear left suspension issue, the tyre removing from the chassis of the car, the Tatas 2318 chassis. They're embracing this season in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, and the safety car has been called out as a result of the crash. Maschio out of the race. And we're now down to 25 runners here at the moment, with Yaroslav Vasalo down in 25th. Nikita Bedrin already moving up to 22nd ahead of his other teammate Tim Gerhardt. So you've got 3 Santalocks down in the bottom 4 of the running cars right now, and you can just see Giovanni Maschio still sat in his car at the moment with the rear left whilst still fixed to the chassis, not in position or where it should be. It has broken away. So that RPM is well and truly out of the race for Keith Donegan's team. But it's still Enzo Delaney out in front. Of course, this does mean that any hopes of time gain for Delaney is put to bed for now. He will return to within proximity of Pedro Clearo. Akshay Bora also forming up in behind as well. Good news for him, because he was 1.1 seconds back. And now that time can be brought straight back inwards as well. But as we now form up, Jack Beaton, of course, now behind Taito Kato after those two were dueling out on track not too long ago. Rashid El Dahiri also having a busy race. Kanato Lay, as a result of the brushing with the gravel, finds himself just ahead of Trident's Ruiki Lu, but behind Santiago Ramos. And Juan Pu Kui now behind Matteo Capietto. So the 2 RPMs currently sat 13th and 18th, with their teammate Giovanni Maschio out of the race. But so far, Delaney in control, as it was at the end of qualifying. Enzo Delaney, the young 17-year-old from Shanghai, China, looking to bounce back from yesterday. 5th of the Formula Regional Middle Eastern Championship last campaign, of course, coming into the start of the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine season. Was 4th in the Macau Grand Prix as well in 2024. And 4th in the Spanish F4 Rookie Championship as well. He was Rookie Champion, but 4th overall in the championship as a whole, with 2 wins and 10 podiums. Same year, he would make his single-seater debut after various karting successes between 2016 and 2022. The French-Chinese driver really embracing single-seater racing and life here in Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, formerly part of the Red Bull Junior Academy as well, but still an opportunity to go back in if the results go more his way. All comes down to performance at the end of the day, as Giovanni Maschio's car gets carted off and into the safety off track just to allow racing to continue. We're inside the final 19.5 minutes. Of course, still plus the 1 lap to be observed after that. Has carried through to 0 as well. Pedro Clearo still there and thereabouts, trying to hustle for a 6th podium finish, but would ideally like to make it win number 3 after winning back at Zandvoort for the first time this season. Of course, his last win featuring at race 2 at Red Bull Ring, our last round. Following in the footsteps of Kaz Havercourt. So now they stretch down the long straight, warming the tyres up as they go, just to get a little bit of extra heat and extra grip into the Pirelli rubber. Of course, much like higher up the single-seater roster in Pirelli, supplying the FIA Formula 3 and Formula 2 championships, and of course the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine with its announced FIA relationship now, looking ahead to next season as it will become the Formula Regional European Championship once more, as it was back in 2019 and 2020, with a new car to be announced as well, with all the bells and whistles and the complete grid that will be announced very soon too. It's going to be an exciting time for the series, with the safety car confirmation that it's coming in this lap. Enzo Dellini would love nothing more than to bring 25 points home to etch himself back again closer to championship leader Matteo De Pallo. As it stands, De Pallo ahead of Slater inside this top 10 at the moment in P6. The driver that notched together Trident's first ever wins in this championship and has made it 4 as well this season. And you never know, with 2 rounds to go, 4 races after this one, there could be more coming. Of course, at the moment, Freddie Slater with 5 wins, the highest recorded so far this season, and level with the likes of Alessandro Giusti and Martini Stenshorn and Andrea Kimi Antonelli, Hadrian David, who is here this weekend as well, supporting his driver Enzo Dellini, of course coaching the young French driver as they come through the final sector. Here this time around, the safety car will peel off. It will come down to Dellini to manage the restarts here as they come through the final corner now and bring an end to the safety car period. We will be green again. They'll put pedal to the metal for the 2nd time in this race now, and it will be Dellini charging down through towards turn 1. Clearo only 3/10 behind, might have a chance here with the use of push to pass if he has it available to him. Of course, many drivers do choose to prefer to use it at the very end. Evan Gilter trying to cover off Michael Belov, who has a look up the inside as well for CL Motorsports as they fly through turn 1. Unsuccessful Michael Belov, but there is side-by-sides elsewhere. Jin Nakamura tying up this time as well with Taito Kato as they came through the first sector, and I think Taito Kato might have got the upper hand in that exchange. They now come down through towards turn 4, and yes, I think he has, as they now go wheel to wheel elsewhere. Here comes Freddie Slater on Matteo De Pallo. A battle over the championship lead right now, and he might go for the double here, Freddie Slater, as he now goes wheel to wheel with Michael Belov coming in towards turn 5. The Prema now swiftly moving up the inside, and Matteo De Pallo looking to follow them through as well, and Slater into P5 here at Barcelona, and De Pallo looking to do the same as they come uphill through Vert Curve, rising up through the ranks, the highest part of the course, as they now shoot downhill. Matteo De Pallo can't quite unhook Belov just yet, but just look at that from Freddie Slater. 2 moves made in 1 sector alone, and he's now in P5 as De Pallo looks to take the long way around as they come through towards turn 10. Now floating up through turn 11. They creep and peep up through towards turn 12. Slater holding firm at the moment, but it looks like at the moment Belov trying every which way to push his CL Motorsport car further up the rostrum. And in behind, we also have Hiyu Yamakoshi coming into the thick of the action as well, and he is joined by Taito Kato, who's having a fantastic race so far, lifting himself outside of the top 10, back inside the top 10, offering opportunities here for ART, coupling with Evan Gilter's efforts as well. Kanato laid back on the tail of Rashid El Dahiri. So again, Rashid El Dahiri's got to try and keep an ART in behind once again as they float through the first sector once more with 14 minutes and 55 to go. There is Yamakoshi on the tail of Matteo De Pallo, who's just seen his title rival not only pass him, but also Michael Belov just in front as well. What could that mean for the championship as we head into the final 2 rounds at this very late stage of the season? We're going to sign off the Barcelona weekend with some fireworks, and we've had plenty of it so far through the course of this race. As now I look around the outside here for an RPM, that's the 21, no less, of Mateo Capieto, the young Frenchman on his return to single-seater action, and it looks like he's gone off wide as well, and he'll drop a fleet of places as a result on the outset of turn 5 onto the grass, and it's misery there for Mateo Capieto, unfortunately, and he will sink lower and lower through this 25-car grid rostrum that still remains out on track after Giovanni Maschio was unfortunately a retirement earlier on, and Capieto as a result dropping behind Tim Gerhardt right now as we watch as Michael Belov sweeps through turn 11 through turns 12 and 13, 14. And now down the long straight once again, Delaney 8/10 clear at the moment. A little bit wide there as well. We just saw a car skipping off into the gravel. I think that might have been Michael Belov. That could be inviting here once again for Matteo De Palo. Yamakoshi and Kato also together as well at the same time. And Nakamura and Jack Beaton also looking to stretch their legs as well. Here comes Belov and Matteo De Palo. We've got side-by-sides as well. Yamakoshi coming under fire from Taito Kato, who moves up a place again. He now raises the stakes. De Palo looking all over the back of Michael Belov. Can't quite find his way through, but a great move for Taito Kato, who moves into 8th ahead of Van Amersfoort's Hiyu Yamakoshi. Great move there from Kato, and it's wheel-to-wheel once again further back. That's Jack Beaton under fire from Kanato Lay, who's taken the long way round here, and Kanato Lay coming through turn 4 and ferrying his way ahead of Beaton for P12 here in this stage, and is now on the tail of Rashid Al Dahiri. Was Beaton now with company, because now Santiago Ramos has joined the fun. Of course, twice a race winner in FIA Formula 3. And returning to the team and the championship where he scored 1 podium. And it's always great to see the Mexican back here with us here in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. Enzo Delaney, 1.3 seconds ahead of Clero now. That gap has well and truly grown. It looks like Akshay Bora down in 3rd as well, 1.7 away. Gilles still for company. I mean, Gilles not under the question for a podium here. If he can levy himself closer to the back of Akshay Bora, there's every chance here for Gilles. The young Frenchman obviously looking to at least strike something in the heart of this championship. He hasn't had a podium, like I said, since Misano at the very start of the season, where he took a victory in race 2 from pole position. 11 minutes and 50 plus 1 lap to go. They continue down through towards turn 1. 9 laps have been concluded as Delaney now looks to continue his lead. Of course, so far, amassing 2 wins this season. He could yet make it 3. 1 more than Pedro Clero is now. They come close together between Hiyu Yamakoshi and Jin Nakamura. Rising up through turn 3 this time after turns 1 and turns 2. And now in towards turns 4 again. Michael Belov now dropping back from Freddie Slater. It's 1.6 seconds now. De Palo still 4/10 behind and trying to find an opportunity to get past Michael Belov. It's so integral here for Matteo De Palo to ensure that the gap doesn't grow too much between himself and Slater, because Slater now starting to become a thorn in the side now for Evan Gilles. He's only 8/10 away from the man driving the ART. And Bora, of course, applying 2 RHGPs inside the top 3. They would love it to finish this way, that's for sure. Very Imola-esque here for our race, as they now plummet down through towards turns 10 and turns 11 very shortly. Still plenty of racing to be had. Kanato Lay still nursing the back of Rashid Al Dahiri's car. He's now gap Jack Beaton to 1.1. Beaton under fire now from Santiago Ramos. And Juan Pucui on the back of Edu Robinson. The highest rookie at the moment is Dion Gouda. He's currently ahead of Robinson at the moment, but that rookie battle is still firmly underway. Half a second between Robinson and Gouda at the moment as they take the long straight now through towards turn 1. There is Belov. 2 seconds back now from Freddie Slater as they cross the line. De Palo waiting to unlock the door on this CL Motorsport driver, who has been part of this series for such a long time. Was a winner with G4 Racing historically, holds 2 wins in this series, does Michael Belov. And looking to help this new rising team, of course championed by Jack and David Lee, an Italian entity that joins the series, of course an Italian championship as well. And it's wonderful to have CL Motorsport with us. We look forward to seeing their future blossoming as well as they continue their time in single-seaters, that's for sure. As we watch now as Delaney flies uphill, 1.1 seconds now. It's been grown outwards ahead of Pedro Cleiro. But also the gap between them and Bora has grown as well. And now Giltert, despite still remaining 0.8 of a second behind Bora, now has Slater 0.3 behind him. So Slater might become the problem here and now for Evan Giltert, the Prema driver. On the attack, seething, obviously, after not converting pole to victory. Mathieu De Palou getting the better start. There is Slater right now. Half a second away and waiting for his chance to strike. There's Cleiro. 1.1 seconds back still, as it stands. A lot can happen in 8 minutes and 45. Not forgetting the push to passes, I'm sure will be collated by the drivers as they look to save them for use later on. Evan Giltert working away to try and close the gap on Akshay Bora over a potential return to the podium. It's been a long time as Cleiro now skips through over the curbs coming through turn 1. Akshay Bora running a little bit wide of the apex coming through the initial stages of the chicane as they now sweep through turn 3. This heavy lateral low corner that really puts a lot of pressure on the Pirelli rubber as they now venture in towards turn 4 this time. Slater now part of this trio that are fighting over the final podium place. All this helping RACGP's cause in terms of nestling a comfortable lead in the team's championship. Further back, Michael Belov with Mathieu De Palou for company. Taito Kato also part of that group. They've now broken ahead of Hiyu Yamakoshi by 1.1 seconds. There's the Brit Freddie Slater. Of course, Italian F4 champion. Broke all the records set in place by Andrea Kimi, Antonelli and Dennis Hauger at the same time. Throughout the championship, joined on 5 with the likes of Alessandro Giusti, Martini Sten, Sean, Andrea Kimi, Antonelli and Hadrian David with 5 race wins this season. Mathieu De Palou on 4 and joined with Dino Beganovic, James Wharton and Kaz Havercourt and Tuka Tappinen. And of course, we've got to say congratulations to Dino Beganovic on taking his first FIA Formula 2 win over the course of this weekend at Baku. So congratulations to you, Dino. As former Prema driver and champion here at the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, as they now fly through down towards turn 1 once again to begin their next lap. 12 laps now accrued with 6 minutes and 50 left to go. How's your bottle here at this late stage? Close gaps as they fight over the final podium place. Can I just say, Cleiro also gaining time and finding himself back to within 0.8 of a second of Enzo Delaney. The last lap, it was a 1:37.9 for him, Pedro Cleiro. We're talking nigh on a 1/10 faster than Delaney over the last lap, but he's going to need more than that, and it looks like he's ferrying it in now. It's 6/10 now. It may have been a 1/10 over the whole lap last time out, but Cleiro has just found an entire 1/10.5 in one sector alone, and is now putting the squeeze on Enzo Delaney here at this point. And Cleiro, of course, chasing a 3rd race win of the season. Currently, both Delaney and Cleiro matched on 2 wins apiece, but Delaney outweighing him on podiums by 2. It's 7 in the pocket of Delaney. It'll be 8 come the end of this race should he convert this to not only to a win, but to a podium. And it'll be 6 podiums for Pedro Cleiro should he remain as he does right now. As they come down towards turn 10 again. Evan Giltert half a second away from Bora still. Continues to forfeit time on the front 2 at the moment. Of course, Delaney and Cleiro only focused on what's ahead at the moment. That is who is going to come out the race winner. At the moment, Delaney, you'd gather, is your favourite. And if you've been tuned in right through the course of this season, you've enjoyed probably the most competitive championship fight we have had in the history of the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. And it's all coming into fruition with Delaney, who forfeited all points yesterday after losing the front wing after an uncomfortable start coming through turns 1 and turns 2. You could have had a case to say that he may have forfeited the right of challenging for the title off the back of that, but you never know. With a win like this, it can change absolutely everything. But first he needs to convert it. 4/10 ahead, though, of Cleiro. Cleiro's finding yet more time. In fact, Cleiro, purple in the first sector, has managed to pull off an incredible 29.6 And it's over 2/10 quicker than Delaney alone inside Sector 1. That is blistering from Pedro Cleiro, and the Brazilian is on the move. He's on the tail of Enzo Delaney right now as they fly up through Verth Curve, and how are the nerves behind the visor of Enzo Delaney right now as they come through Kamsa Corner. There is your chart, folks. That is how much time is being gained by Cleiro over the last 4 laps. And ever since lap 10, he's been gaining. Most notably in lap 11, where he gained 2/10, but I think he's going to gain a little bit more this time. Delaney definitely putting the power down now. He was faster than Cleiro in the middle sector. But, of course, Cleiro now, with the benefits of slipstream, could yet land a blow here to Delaney. Here late in the day, much like how Delaney landed a late blow in qualifying against Cleiro, stopping him from taking pole position. As they now come down through towards the final couple of corners again, before beginning yet another lap. This is the battle over P4 at the moment, and P3 by extension. We've got our race leaders now making their way down through towards turn 1, and look at this from Pedro Cleiro, right in the wheel tracks of Enzo Delaney. And for Delaney, it's going to be very hard for him to shake Pedro Cleiro at this point. The young Brazilian, 18 years of age, from Brasilia in Brazil, a 3-time Brazilian champion in 2018, 19 and 21, winning the Brazil Cup, winning the Brazil Open Cup in 2020 and 2021 at the same time in karts, making his single-seater debut in Brazilian F4, winning the title with 7 wins and 11 podiums, and looking to continue his run now in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, but a lock-up there on the front left, and that could cause a problem. He'll forfeit a little bit of time through that, but I don't think it's going to keep the man down one bit as they come uphill through Verth again. Delaney marshalling his charge well, but Cleiro undeterred and fully motivated, heading down through towards turn 10. Daniel Gilles, I'm sure, watching on with bated breath. Van Amersfoort looking to take yet another win this season. It's been Cleiro who's been doing all the winning for them so far, though Yamakoshi has pulled together 2 podiums so far this campaign himself, after taking P2s at Spa-Francorchamps and, of course, Zandvoort, but it's been a long time since then. Of course, it was round 3 at Zandvoort. We've had 4 rounds since. We're about to close down a 5th. Yamakoshi still in the points at the moment, though, and currently keeping Nakamura at bay and chasing after Taito Kato, who in turn is on the back of Matteo De Paolo, who's far too busy with Michael Belov at the moment, fighting over P6. Slater also all over the back of Evan Gilterre at the moment as they continue their battle over the final podium place, with still Akshay Bora in control of that right now for RHGP. They come through the first sector again, our race leaders. There is Delaney and Cleiro. There is Gilterre fighting and trying to close after Akshay Bora. They come through now through turn 3. Slater on the tail of them as well. The time is ticking. If Slater wants a podium to try and push the championship back in his favour, he needs to do it ASAP. And it could send a real major message, ending the Barcelona weekend before we head to Hockenheim. As now, once again, Akshay Bora going uber defensive up the inside. We saw Gilterre a little bit of a frantic manoeuvre. Obviously, I think he was keen and destined to go up the inside, and now really riding that rear wing on that RHGP car. Bora doing a stern job in defending this now, but Gilterre really glued to the back of his car this time and looks around the outside, coming through Kamsa Corner. A narrow line taken by Akshay Bora, which will, of course, cause him to lose perhaps a little bit of momentum coming down in towards turn 11. Now through out of turn 10, and again Gilterre going very shallow in towards the apex of the corner before venturing through turn 11 up towards turn 12. Slater being invited into the fight, and now going wheel to wheel now with Gilterre. Around the outside goes Freddie Slater, looking to move up into 4th place, but can't do it. Just ran it a little bit too wide, and Gilterre covered it off down the inside. Brilliant stuff from Gilterre, but at the same time he could have been caught unawares. Akshay Bora doing a great job of putting the car where it needed to be to defend the place, but now still, as we come towards the final portion of this Barcelona race, Pedro Cleiro also fighting for the race lead against Enzo Delaney. It's a free-for-all for the podiums, and here comes Gilterre now around the outside, looking to go wheel to wheel with Akshay Bora. Goes off the track, takes the escape road, will come out in front, you'd think, of Akshay Bora here in this instance. Now, whether he'll have to give the position back, I'm not quite sure. as they now make their way down through towards turn 4. This time it looks like he is going to give it back, at least for now, as they now come in towards the apex of the corner. Back into third goes Akshay Bora, and here comes Freddie Slater. Around the outside he goes now, wheel to wheel, coming down in towards turn 5. Slater now with the nose in front, the Prama's in front, and Slater moves into fourth. Brilliant move there from Freddie Slater, took full opportunity of Gilter giving the place back to Akshay Bora. He carried the speed, coming out of turn 4 through turn 5. And again, levying more points against Mathieu de Parlo. This has been a truly unbelievable championship fight. Mathieu de Parlo still currently dealing with Michael Belov right now. But of course, we've still got a big fight still brewing for the race lead overall, and we've got one lap to bring you as this one comes to a close. It's 9.2 between Akshay Bora and Pedro Cleiro right now. Delaney, 16 laps amassed. Very soon they'll cross the stripe and the final lap will begin. And Cleiro is going to have to use every ounce of push to pass he has left, and they have crossed the stripe now. 17 laps concluded. Enzo Delaney looking to come back with a bang here at Barcelona. After a tricky race yesterday, he's got Pedro Cleiro swarming all over him like a nasty rash right now as they trip down through towards turn 1 further back also. You can see Mathieu de Parlo entering this race as the championship leader, chasing after Michael Belov at the moment. De Parlo's had a wonderful season this campaign, moving from Saint-Aloc into the Trident, converting 4 race wins through the course of the campaign. Currently sat one behind Freddie Slater in terms of race wins this season, but that just illustrates how tight this championship has certainly been. We have had so far 6 different race winners: De Parlo, Slater, Cleiro, Delaney, Bora and Gilter. And if you want to exacerbate that, we've had plenty of podium sitters as well, not to mention 7 pole sitters through the course of the campaign. And Delaney looking like for now he's managed to marshal off the attack from Pedro Cleiro. This young driver from China and France, that's his nationality, French-Chinese, hailing from Shanghai, China though, however, as Bora goes defensive against Slater again this time. A slight lock-up there from Akshay Bora as they continue their fight over P3, but it's all eyes to the front as Enzo Delaney with Cleiro Manacle to the back of his R-Race GP. He's going to return to the top step once more for a 3rd time this season. 3's not a crowd for Enzo Delaney as Slater makes a mistake and through goes Evan Gilter into 4th. My goodness me, drama right at the bitter end as Akshay Bora makes it R-Race 1 and 3. Gilter in 4th, Slater down in 5th. My goodness me, a blockbuster to close out Barcelona. This is what happened. He ran wide of the apex coming through turn 13. And forfeiting that P4 position to ART's Evan Gilter. His highest finish in a long, long time, Evan Gilter. But it's Enzo Delaney who hits the heights of the top step once again. And that'll be 198 points in his back pocket off the back of that performance. Truly remarkable from the young man. Credit to Pedro Cleiro as well at the same time. An absolutely magnificent race to close out Barcelona here. And Enzo Delaney confirmed your race winner, finishing 4 tenths ahead of Pedro Cleiro, who did brilliantly well to challenge. Akshay Bora in 3rd. Evan Gilter managing to get P4 back after Freddie Slater made a mistake around the final corner. Michael Belov in 6th ahead of Mathieu de Parlo, who will forfeit the championship lead to Freddie Slater now. Taito Kato 8th ahead of Hiyu Yamakoshi in 9th, and then Jin Nakamura in P10 ahead of Rashid Aldahiri in 11th, with Kanato Lei in 12th. Jack Beaton in 13th place ahead of Santiago Ramos. Ruiki Liu in 15th place as well. Then Dion Gowder in 16th ahead of Nikita Bedrin. Edu Robinson in 18th place ahead of Matteo Capietto. Juan Pucui in 20th. Tim Gerhards in 21st. Sakura Maushari in 22nd. Nandavid Birampakti 23rd. Edward Borgner down in 24th. Then Yaroslav Vasalo 25th. And Giovanni Maschio, a retirement earlier on in the race. Fastest lap was, of course, taken by Enzo Delaney, 1:37.875. So there we have it, and a win to celebrate here at Barcelona for Enzo Delaney. The perfect way to bounce back after the disappointment from yesterday's race 1. A blistering effort on his part, and now will feature higher up in the rostrum. Obviously back in the title fold, surely, but he'll need to be clinical at Hockenheim. No question, he needs to make a big splash, and I'm sure RSGP know that better than anybody. They have fought tooth and nail with Prema in the past. Obviously, we've got a new challenger by the name of Trident this season, with Matteo De Paulo as well. But credit to Akshay Bora, defending like a lion and bringing home P3, a double R-Race podium. What a way to celebrate the end of another weekend here for the R-Race team. Of course, 12 points going Freddie Slater's way. Will make a huge dent in the points at the same time, but rising out of the cockpit, Enzo Dellini will celebrate 3 race wins this season. And he knows what it means. Apologies for the language, folks. But a victory off the back of scoring no points in race 1. That is just the way you need to fight back. After losing the front wing in the very beginning of the opening race yesterday, Hadrian David issuing his congratulations. Of course, a former RSGP driver here in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine himself. Magic here at Barcelona, and a double podium between 2 great friends. Akshay Bora, almost requisite of what we saw back at Imola. Fantastic effort. In fact, it is exactly like the results from race 1 at Imola. Of course, it was Dellini, the winner on that occasion. It was P3 for Akshay Bora at that time too. The only difference, Slater not appearing in P2 on this occasion. But as we got underway, these are the highlights from the race that we have just witnessed, and it was a blockbuster. We got underway after a safety car start. Green flags took us down through towards turn 1. Dellini led it from start to finish, with Pedro Clero attacking in the rear. We saw plenty of jostling for position, though. We just saw in the background there an RPM having an uncomfortable ride around the final corner as well, as they made their way down towards the first corner apex. Rashid El Dahiri trying to attack Jack Beaton as well, making his way in towards the top 10. Dion Gowder, of course, wheel-to-wheel with the 35 G4 at the same time. It was a fantastic effort by Edu Robinson, but we saw a crash then that would see the end of Giovanni Maschio's race, with the rear left tyre leaving the suspension bracket, as now we saw Pedro Clero trying to close the gap on Enzo Dellini, which ultimately he would do. More side-by-side moments as well coming through turn 5. Nikita Bedrin trying to move up the order after he was given a pre-race penalty after qualifying, with all his times being deleted, starting from the back of the grid. And we saw Akshay Bora fully defending here. Of course, was given the place back after an illegal overtake there by the ART of Evan Gilter, and Slater took full advantage of it, eventually moving into P4 here in this moment. But of course, the battle up at the front was what we wanted to see, and it was a magnificently managed race by Enzo Dellini to mark his 3rd race win of the season, finishing ahead of Pedro Clero from Van Amersfoort Racing, thrusting him straight into the championship fight once again. And now we take a turn to the podium. And it's going to be an interesting end to the campaign, I am sure. In fact, I'm just going to take a little bit of a gander at the points right now. Was Freddie Slater taking 10 points after that last visit, after finishing behind ART's Evan Gilter. 125 points now for Evan Gilter, just to say as well. Of course, 8 points go in the way of Michael Belov. A grand reappearance for him, for CL Motorsports at the same time. In fact, it's the first points finish for Michael Belov since race 2 at Imola. So immense credit for him for that. And it's 6 points for Matteo De Paulo. So I'm going to change my answer to this. It's actually, they're level on points by my calculations. Matteo De Paulo and Freddie Slater both sharing 226. As now we see Clero and Bora standing tall on the podium steps. Clero could have so easily become a race winner here today. Enzo Dellini takes the top step of the podium for RSGP, a double podium shared by the RSGP teammates, which will help them massively in the team's championship race. I'm sure Daniel Gilles is delighted with Clero's performance once again. Of course, we've seen great drivers come through Van Amersfoort with the likes of Kaz Havercourt and Brando Bador. It looks like Pedro Clero is easily going to be one of those greats here in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. Dion Gowder, the winning rookie, once again has been in full command of the rookies classification as Mr. Santamaria presents the third place trophy to Akshay Bora. And P2 trophy by the Pirelli representative to Pedro Cleiro. It's yet another podium in Pedro Cleiro's arsenal. That's 6 he's recorded so far this season. And Mr. Santamaria presenting the winning trophy to Enzo Dellini. His third victory, and on top of that, his 8th podium of the campaign. And the winning team trophy being delivered to the R-Race GP representative by Mr. Santamaria, of course, the boss of the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya circuit that has seen some incredible infrastructure improvements over recent years. Of course, with the amendments to the final sector as well. But it looks like De Ongada receiving the rookie trophy at the same time. And we have the French national anthem. So by my reckoning, Mathieu de Parlo, Freddie Slater, level on points. They will now proceed to Hockenheim. It's been a pleasure bringing you all the action here from Barcelona, but from all of us here, it's goodbye.